Hello everybody, happy St. Patty's Day. It is Sunday. We're doing entire Bible read through. I'm Nathan Wheeler.
And I'm Alex Slavovsky.
And today we're doing Numbers 19 through 24. We are super excited to be here with you guys today. And we have decided to speak only in Irish accents from this point on, starting with Alex.
That's right.
Just one word? That's it? Or two words? That's right.
That's right.
If you guys can't tell, I am wearing green, even though those are green screen behind me.
Oh, nice. Nicely done, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't know why my Irishman is a pirate today. Huh?
I like how you sound Danish.
Oh, I'm from Sweden?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry to any Europeans that have whose accents we have butchered.
Yes. All right, you guys, if you're logging on, say hello, say where you're from, and of course we're going to jump on in. Do we have, we don't have any generals, huh? Everybody got right to the point.
I think so, unless I miscategorized half the stuff I wrote down, which is possible. It is St. Patty's Day. I can't be completely 100% responsible for my sobriety. I'm drinking a squirt.
That's what he means, by the way.
I'm totally sober.
Yeah.
Like,
he means squirt gets to his head.
Yeah.
We can't advertise squirt. You have to cover it.
I'm not advertising squirt. I'm advertising the
symbol.
What looks like a Irish shamrock thingy.
So while we are waiting for everybody to log on, a little bit of information about St. Patty's Day. If anybody is curious, why is St. Patrick famous? Well, St. Patrick is famous for bringing the Trinity to Ireland. And the way that he did that was he found a 3-leaf clover. And when he picked up the 3-leaf clover, he used it in his demonstrations to explain the Trinity. And he was so successful with this demonstration of using a 3-leaf clover that he basically is considered the guy who turned Ireland into a Christian country, or a Christian island, if you will, from being a Norse pagan Celt, old school kind of religion. So he was so successful that they made him a saint. And now, of course, today, St. Patrick's Day is really not known for anything other than green and drinking. But the truth of the matter is that's why it's famous. That's why St. Patrick is famous, because he used the 3-leaf clover to describe the Trinity. So, a little bit of info while we're waiting for everybody to log on. Happy St. Patty's Day. All right. Let's jump on in. We got looks like we got everybody here. So thank you everybody for taking your Sunday and your holiday. Johnny Jansen asks, why then is the 4-leaf clover lucky? Well, John, the reason why the 4-leaf clover is lucky is actually because of the swastika. The swastika is not always the symbol that Germany made it out to be during Hitler's time period. It was actually an ancient symbol of good luck.
Was it a Hindu symbol?
Well, yeah, but the pagans and the Celts used it as well. And so since there was 4 sides to the swastika, the 4-side 4-leaf clover, which was found to be very rare, you could find them, but they were very rare. So therefore, if you found one, it was considered to be lucky because of the way that it also looked like the 4-sided swastika. So that's why there's a 4-leaf clover, means good luck.
Wow.
I know, right?
I'm not going to look at a 4-leaf clover the same again.
Well, it doesn't mean swastika like swastika
you ruined
does.
4-leaf clovers for me now, man. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what happens when you actually know the original symbols of things.
Whatever, overrated.
Yep.
I'm feeling wacky today. It must be St. Patty's Day. You haven't done any Irish accent yet.
I did for a second.
Oh.
Christine Lynn also was a slave taken by the Irish and wanted to go back to share the gospel. I don't really know what you're asking, but the Irish never had slaves. And the Irish were the only white people in America to be slaves. So most people don't know that as well. There were white slaves in America, and they were Irish. There was no other white race in America that was ever enslaved. Only the Irish.
In America?
In America.
There were other parts of the world where there was...
White slaves.
White slaves.
Yeah, but in America... It was only the Irish.
I got you. I was
just let that be known, okay? We can celebrate slavery month or whatever.
Try to put a damper on your Irish.
Just saying.
Happiness.
Most people don't know these things. Let's jump on in. Numbers 19. Starting off with the famous Jennifer Connolly. Oh, I believe that last name is a bit Irish there too. All right. That was a mix. That was a mix of Irish and Scottish. I get it, real official Irish people. I messed up, okay? All right.
Jennifer Connolly, Numbers 19, verse 2. This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without a spot, where there is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. What is the symbolism of the red heifer? It was a special sin offering for all of Israel. Today, does it serve as an end time indicator? And Jennifer posted a link to the Temple Institute video in her question. So yeah.
So the red heifer has multiple symbols to it. Of course, the word red actually is Adam. So Adam was a ginger. He was a redhead. And so the red heifer would probably be referencing that. Also, the red heifer being completely flawless and never have a yoke. Some people don't understand what that word yoke means. It means that it was never put to labor. It never had any labor put onto it. It never worked like in the field or anything like that. So it was basically like it had a very good life, easy life, things like that. As for the sin offering of Israel, well, today its use would be for, it has to sprinkle the land 7 times with the red heifer's blood, and then you have to sprinkle the Holy of Holy altar with the red heifer's blood 7 times as well. So the red heifer does play a role in today's world in that regard. And then your question was, how does it indicate end times? Well, yes, with the third temple being built, that obviously is a massive end times prophecy. It can only be done once. A lot of people say, oh, well, people have been saying it's the end times for hundreds of years. But the one symbol that we can stand on indefinitely, the one symbol that is not metaphorical or can be taken metaphorical, is the building of the third temple in Jerusalem. It's funny how many times when I mention the third temple, how many people write me from like Indonesia or China or even here in America, and they say, oh, the third temple is in Iowa or the third temple is in Hong Kong. It's like, no, there's only one third temple of Jerusalem, and that's the third temple in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. So, or actually in the town of David, but chances are they'll be building it this time in the wrong place on the Temple Mount. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But yes, and you can see it at the JerusalemTempleInstitute.org. You can go there and actually see that they have 3 red heifers, and they're basically just waiting for the United Nations or a war to break out to give them the right to take over the Temple Mount, kick out the Muslims, and build the temple. So all the pieces are made. Every brick is numbered like Legos, and they could put up the whole thing in about 3 months. Pretty exciting times, to say the least. So good question.
Yeah, real quick about the red heifer. Adam and red are the same word. And it is possible, in my mind anyway, that Adam wasn't just red-haired. He might have been red-skinned, like earthy skin, or earthy color. If he was...
Like a heifer.
Like a heifer.
Like a clay.
If he was made literally from the earth, as it says, it is possible that his skin color was of the earth and it was kind of that reddish clay color, like the heifer. If you look at pictures of a red heifer, you can find it online, pictures of a red cow, you'll see that, you'll see the color that is, and it does strike me as very earthy. So
I like that.
I think it's possible that Adam may have been actually that color, the color of that heifer.
That'd be a very interesting looking dude, right?
Yeah.
And Esau was red and hairy. Maybe he looked like a red heifer too.
Well, Esau was very hairy.
And he was red-haired. So he could actually look like a red heifer, if you think about it. Because he was so thick that they put a coat of an animal on him, on his brother, to trick his dad. And his dad's like, oh, that's totally you. I mean, I've seen some hairy dudes in my life, but if you actually put like an animal fur on, and your dad's like, yeah, that feels like you. I mean, you were a hairy dude.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Deep thoughts.
Deep thoughts with Yeshua Network today. All right, Liliana.
All right. Numbers, Liliana Margarella, Numbers 19, 5-6. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh and her blood and her dung shall he burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning heifer. Here I can see the crucifixion of Yeshua. The Lord asked for a red, pure heifer without blemish, no defect, and pure. She has not yet been impregnated. I think the color have something to do with the blood, plus purity, no blemish, like Yeshua. So the heifer is a symbol of Yeshua. Quote, its blood shall be burned. Unlike every other sacrifice in the Old Testament, the blood of the red heifer is burnt along with the sacrifice instead of being completely drained out at the jugular. The blood has to be part of the ashes that would come forth from the burning of the carcass of the red heifer. Also, the animal was sacrificed outside of camp, like Yeshua was on the crucifix outside of Jerusalem for our cleansing by his blood. So why add to the burning heifer cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet? In Leviticus 14, each of these 3 items are used in the cleansing ceremony for a leper. Cedar is extremely resistant to disease and rot, and is well known for its quality and preciousness. Symbolic reference to the wood of Yeshua's cross. The cross was made of cedar, pine, and cypress. Yes, we talked about that. Very, very cool. Hyssop also appears at Yeshua's crucifixion, when the Roman soldiers offer Yeshua a drink of wine vinegar on a sponge at the end of a stalk of hyssop.
Yeah.
Scarlet, the color of the blood, like the cleansing blood of Yeshua on the cross.
Woo woo!
Liana, that's great.
You want to grab the microphone? Because that deserves a microphone drop. Can you reach it?
I can reach it. There you go.
Oh, bam. Microphone drop for you there. Well done. Also, something to mention, as you said, it's the only sacrifice where the blood gets burned as well. And I think that the symbolism, I just want to touch upon that. And you actually quoted the scriptures here, which we'll read. But I want to touch upon the fact that, most people don't know, and I'm surprised to learn this, is a lot of people don't know that Yeshua actually went into Sheol for the 3 days that he was gone before his resurrection. And Sheol at the time was kind of a symbolic place of hell. It was a place where he could go and get all those people who were waiting for the Messiah. They didn't have salvation. They had only the atonement of their sins. They didn't have the forgiveness of their sins. And when he goes into that place, he pulls them out, and his blood covers even those people in that place at that time. So that's, I think, also the symbolism of the blood being burned, meaning also that Yeshua he takes the price of our sins. And I don't think that means he just takes the whips and the lashes, obviously, on his body, which we'll get into in the New Testament. There are scriptures that talk about this, but I think it's amazing to see, as you pointed out, the symbolism here of it is the only one whose blood gets burned. And yet Yeshua's blood is the one that also covers us from our hell. Interesting stuff. So, you want to read the Numbers 19?
Numbers 19:9, Liliana continues, for a water of separation, it is a purification of sin. Here I can see salvation. So the residue from the burning of the carcass, the cedar, the hyssop, and the scarlet fabric together would produce a lot of ash, and the ash was to be gathered and sprinkled in water bit by bit to make water fit for purification. The same water that makes us born again when we get baptized in Yeshua's name? ? The water that separates us from our sins. Here in Numbers we read the instruction how to be purified, uncleanness from being in contact with the dead body. We know that death is synonymous of sin, and sin that separates us from fellowship with God.
Yes, very true. And your question, is it symbolic of the baptism? I would say yes. The other thing is it just seems that most people don't know this. Do you know that ash is also a way of like a cleaning agent? You can use ash like you would use soap. So for instance, if you're out in a survival situation, you're out in the woods or something like that, and you need to make sure that your body doesn't have any germs or bugs or anything like that on it, and you want to wash yourself, but you don't have any soap, you can actually make ashy water, and it acts as a soap agent. So yeah, it's interesting here that ash God did create ash to be an agent in which we can clean our bodies with, which is also why later on we will actually see that high priest will rip their clothes, or people will tear their clothes and pour ash on themselves. I think we saw it once already in the scriptures, right?
Yeah.
But that's the symbolism of the ash as well. So yes.
Numbers, and final comment for Liliana here. Numbers 19:13. Whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him, he shall be unclean. His uncleanness is upon him. Something to do with salvation? If we don't get purified with the water of separation, our soul should be cut off from the kingdom of God.
The answer is yes. Absolutely. Billie Jean.
That's a very important point.
It
I
is.
think it goes to a lot of the things you've been talking about when it comes to baptism.
Yeah.
Billie Jean Christensen.
Very good, Leon, is what he's saying. Totally agree with the man.
Billie Jean Christensen, Numbers 19, 11 through 13. Is there a reason why they have to purify themselves specifically on the 3rd and 7th day? We should probably look up that scripture and see.
Is there a reason why we have to prepare this on the
You weren't
3rd or
listening.
7th day? No, I was reading their comments. I
Weren't
can't.
listening.
I can't
Weren't
multitask
listening.
at the same time.
Never listens
Alex
to me.
Slavovsky.
Never listens to me.
I don't. Did you say something?
No.
Okay. Well, the 7 days, we understand the symbol of 7 and we understand the symbol of 3. So, is it specific
We
on
do?
the 3rd? Yeah, don't we? Do you not? Well, 3 obviously, because, there's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, the 3 major forms in which Yahweh takes. And of course, it's 7 is the amount of days that God created the world. He rested on the 7th day. Is there anything in that?
No, that's good.
You said it in such a way like it's a riddle, like people
Well,
don't know.
it was a question, so we figured we'd answer it.
Well, okay, I gotcha. The only other reason I can think of Billie Jean is just simply that he wants to point out that he always wants to make everything point to him. He wants to make sure that nobody has any confusion about this is about me, this is about a relationship with me, this situation, how you do this, why you do this is to remember something I've done for the people or to remember a promise I made for the people. So everything that you see, the numbers, the words, the choice of the animal, the description of the animal, the role that it plays in regards to what sin or peace offering or anything like that, it always ties into a symbol that we could dig forever, which is amazing and wonderful, and I recommend you do it. You take as much time as you want to basically look into it and see how much depth there is. But the further you go, the more you look into each and everything, you will see more and more symbolism there. And of course, if you do go back also to the original ancient writings of Hebrew, you will see that every letter has a symbol to it. And if you actually look at even just how the numbers, remember too that in Hebrew, the numbers are letters, and so they're interchangeable. So if you also look at the 3rd letter or the 7th letter, right, you're going to also see a symbol. So you can go on forever. Like, it's a wonderful rabbit hole that just goes deeper and deeper. Wonderful thing is that God made it so that those who want to continue to grow in Him and continue to find more about Him and just see more of His brilliance in His written word, you can go on and on and on forever. It really is a blessing. So I can't say that there is a passage later that says, and the reason why I chose the 3rd day and the 7th day is because of this and that. That passage doesn't exist, but we can look into the symbolisms of those numbers as just kind of like chasing rabbit holes. And I recommend doing it. It is really fun.
They appear again and again and again. That is also what I think Nathan's saying.
I'm fixing the camera here, guys. Give me a second here.
The world is...
We're making all sorts of mess. See, it's like, this doesn't work. Hold on, guys. Technical difficulties. I just wanted you to see my t-shirt. So there we go. I'm going to use that as the excuse. Is that better? That's better. See? I feel like our heads were at the bottom. Now it's not. You gotta look up there. That's a delay.
Oh.
You see what I mean? And by the way, my shirt says "Kiss me, I'm a Nathan" instead of "Kiss me, I'm Irish." But I'm both, so it works. It's amazing. Okay.
Probably should move the chirons, right?
Oh yeah. I forgot that we did. Okay. This way. What happened? It's broken. Oh, it's not working.
Sorry, guys. We are having technical...
We are having technical difficulties. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. And we're out of focus.
Are we? Again? This happens.
No, it's okay. It's
Hold
okay. Out of focus is better for them anyway.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean,
Why? Because you don't want to see my face?
Well,
Unbelievable.
I'm stuck with you right here.
Do you see how he treats me?
You're unfortunately in focus right next to me. I mean, for them, it's better. They don't have to
We
stare
are
at
out of
it.
focus, though.
We are.
Yeah, we are. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Okay. Give it a second. Okay, moving on. Thank you guys for your wonderful patience with us on this blessed day that the Lord hath made, so we all shall rejoice in it.
All right. We covered that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Ellen Mahar, Numbers 19, verse 9. After burning the red heifer, one who is clean shall take the ashes and place them in a clean place outside the camp, and they shall become waters of separation for the congregation, a place of purification for sin. Do the ashes become water, or do they cleanse themselves ritually with the ashes?
Well, they put the ash in the water.
In the water.
Yeah. And then they sprinkle the water ash mixture as a way of cleansing.
Yeah.
Okay. See, they say it's better.
Yeah.
You guys can see us more now, right? See?
Excellent.
I knew what I was doing. Gosh.
You did.
He always doubts me. Okay.
I do.
Yeah, it's okay.
Somebody has to.
Somebody has to doubt me, because only 99% of the people out there do. But that's okay. I'm glad you do too, Alex Lavosky. Okay.
I have good reason. What? No, I don't.
What?
Alan Williams.
Go ahead, drink. You want me to read this one? I'll
yes.
drink. Alan Williams, Numbers 8:11. So stepping back a little bit here. I don't fully understand.
Actually, I think that might have been a mistake. I don't think it's Numbers 8:11, Alan. But because I read,
Is your phone ringing?
No, it's not.
We're doing a video right now. Are you a professional?
No.
Are you a professional video Yeshua networker, or are you amateur hour? What's going on over here?
Is the answer that not obvious?
This is
already?
how we read the Bible, by the way, you guys. When we read the Bible, we're just like such a mess. Okay, Alan, getting to the focus here. Stay focused with me. I don't fully understand the uncleanliness, especially since the priest is ordered to do something that will make him unclean. Seems like Yahweh is not just talking about physical unclean, but also spiritually. Why would he have us do spiritually unclean tasks? Is it maybe sometimes we have to get our halos dirty for the righteous reasons? Oh! Conservatively, of course. 7. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, he shall bathe in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp. The priest shall be unclean until evening. When the one who burns it shall wash his clothes in water, bathe in water, and shall be unclean until evening. Then a man who is clean shall gather up the ash of the heifer and store them outside the camp in a clean place, and they shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for the water of purification. It is for purifying from sin. And the one who gathers the ash of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. It shall be a statute forever to the children of Israel and to the strangers who dwell among us. I love that. He who touches the dead body of anyone shall be unclean 7 days. Bam. All right.
So the question being, why would God ask the priests to do something that will make them unclean?
Yeah. I think it's really, 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 really important to take this opportunity and point out the importance of the word unclean. Unclean does not mean sin. Unclean means unable to be in the presence of the Lord. Now that would seem like sin because God can't be in the presence of sin, right? But to be unclean doesn't mean sin, quote unquote. You don't go to hell for being unclean. It just separates you from God. And he creates opportunity through these practices to allow us to become clean again. And I think another thing is that you have to remember, this isn't in a time where there's running water. This isn't in a time where there's soap. You know what I mean? There's no laundry detergent and stuff like that. God had to create both a way to be holy spiritually and then use his holy spiritual rules to also help them remain healthy, right? That's one of the reasons why he also doesn't have them eat like pork and pig and things like that, is because that's obviously known as a very high worm infested meat. And of course he doesn't want them eating that so that they don't get sick. So he makes it a holy law, and in return it also acts as a physical healthy law. You see what I'm saying? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So why does he do the unclean? Why would he have somebody do something unclean? I think you hit the nail on the head. Paul later says, I shall become all things in hope that a few shall be saved. I don't think that that we should be exactly like, that we should delve in and become sin. But I think that, as we see from Paul, if we go into an unsinful situation to act as a liaison or act as somebody who's pulling somebody else out of sin, right? The dead body must be addressed. The dead body must be buried. It must be worked on. Somebody has to do it. So that doesn't mean that that person who helps that should be left unclean forever. There has to be a way for them to become clean again, but also somebody needs to do the job. So I don't think it's a contradiction, but I totally can see how when reading this that it would seem like a contrary commandment by God. But I think he's just addressing the fact that things that we do have to do are unclean. You know, going to the toilet is an unclean activity.
Right. Yeah.
But you got to do it.
Again, yeah, I think the distinction of unclean and sinful is important.
It is.
And yeah, the priests were not the priests were not a sort of upper class. They were not like a class of people that had privilege and had whose lives were more holy and easier. Quite the opposite. He's basically saying they have to do the dirty work. They have to do a lot of stuff that's going to be
and they're held at a higher level of accountability, which I think is another symbolism too that we will come into, because what you're seeing here is that why they have to do this, they also are unclean. So they do all the ritual knowing good and well that they're not going to be able to interact with anybody. Remember, some of the rules, they have to go out into the wilderness and be by themselves for a certain amount of time. Like, that's part of their gig. They have to do this, and at the same time it costs them to do it. So it's just their cross to bear. Oh!
Bam!
Oh, did you see what I did there?
I did.
Okay, well, I humor myself. Good question, though. Love it. Thank you very much for asking it and going over that scripture. Really well done.
Okay, Alan Williams continues, Numbers 19. Wondering if you know the significance of cedar, hyssop, and scarlet. Sounds lovely, though. Maybe good steak seasoning. I think we've discussed.
Yeah.
Was it Liliana?
Cedar, the cross. Hyssop is what they put the sponge on, and then scarlet is also the color of blood, but also the color of the robe in which they tore or which they gambled for. So that fulfills prophecy as well. So of course, all this stuff right now for the atonement of sins points towards the salvation of sins, which points to Christ.
Yep. Numbers 20. Alan Williams. The story about the rock reminds me.
Wait. Ann Summers.
Oh, that was a comment to Alan. I'm sorry. Anne commented to Alan. Alan's
she
question.
answered it. My bad.
Yeah. Scarlet is the color associated with sin. Cedar wood is strong, but I was thinking about the same thing. What is the circumstance? What in his circumstance makes it different?
Gotcha. Okay. So we just answered that.
Yeah. Okay, Numbers 20, Alan Williams. The story about the rock reminds me of something you said a while back about miracles and how they can be explained afterwards, but it is their timing that makes them a miracle. The fact that Moses hit the rock and water came out sounds like there was water behind the rock, but God wanted people to see him move it, him being God. And that would have made it a miracle. Moses took the miracle and turned it into human-credited science or act, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have another question on that, so I'm going to hold off until we get to the next one, because somebody asks about hitting the rock twice and how it's the sin, and it's kind of it's weird because it's almost like a riddle. You know, it's like, you know those things where you read them, but there's like a catch in the wording, and you have to catch the catch in the wording in order to fully understand like why Moses got in trouble. Was it because he hit the rock twice? There's a comment coming up and we'll talk about that. So I'm going to hold off on answering that if you want to keep reading from
there. Well, this whole section is actually about the waters of Meribah, so
right.
It's good. Numbers, April Anglis is asking, in Numbers 20, the Lord was annoyed with Moses. Was it because he hit the rock twice? He was told to speak to the rock and not hit it?
Exactly. So he hit the rock, it didn't come out. So he hit the rock again. He was never told to hit the rock in this circumstance. He was told to go and speak to the rock in Yahweh's name, and that then the water would flow. And the reason why God got so upset with him, if you do read the scriptures, it was because God says specifically, you did not give me the credit. And I think it was either because he was so old at this time, or he was just so, like, he had just given up on these people, and he went to the thing that he had trusted on this entire time. He used the staff to part the water. He used the staff to be the snake when he was going against Pharaoh. He used the staff to make the waters turn to blood. I mean, it was the staff that budded almonds, to define that Aaron was the chosen one. The staff was always the symbol of the miracle. Remember, too, that staff means testimony as well here. So, Moses hits the rock twice, basically accounting himself, accounting his own ability and what God has given him, and he uses that and trusts in that instead of trusting in the Lord. And that's what God gets mad at, is that he took the credit instead of making this. Because if you look at the whole situation, guys, at this particular passage, the people of Israel are really griping big time about God. And they're forgetting all the things that God did for them. And God is like, I don't understand how much more I could do for you people to make you realize how I'm totally here for you and I totally love you. And so at this very pinnacle time when they're asking literally for water in the desert, Moses takes that opportunity away from God. He takes the opportunity away from God for the people to glorify God. And if you do think about it, the very thing that they were griping about was they were saying, Moses, you make it all about you. Even though he didn't, he was extremely humble. But ironically, in this situation, he did make it about him. And he did take that moment away from God. So if you're asking yourself, why was God so harsh on Moses? He made one mistake, and because of that, he doesn't get to enter into the promised land. He made one mistake that was a really pinnacle mistake at a pinnacle time. And it was the worst kind of sin, which was pride, or frustration, which is really pride. You think you have the right to be angry, right? So
I mean, you could say that Moses had what we might term as a short leash. Mm-hmm. There was not a whole lot
on him. Yeah,
so,
he didn't carry around a short leash.
No, Moses was on a short leash.
Yeah.
But you could say there's probably good reason for it. He
had a lot to be accountable for.
He spent 40 years having a face-to-face, as it says, sort of from my mouth to his ears, mouth-to-mouth relationship with the Creator of all things.
Yeah.
And so,
like nobody ever had.
Nobody had, and he made it, and God made it apparent to everybody that he had chosen Moses for that. Everybody saw that Moses can speak to God. I mean, there was no question. Nobody had been glorified, you could say, in the entire story thus far. Nobody had been glorified to that degree. Nobody had the millions of witnesses that Moses had in his interaction with God.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge, obviously Moses had to work really hard, and probably most of the time it didn't feel like a blessing because of the fact that he had to keep interceding for the people who were constantly stumbling. But God kept telling him, I'm with you, so
let me be here with you, let me do it.
Yeah.
But this time he did not.
He did not.
Yeah. It's kind of weird though. Just on the side, we have one more question. So let's read this, and then I'll maybe throw in my last comment here. Jennifer Connolly, Numbers 28 through 12.
Take the rod and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Do you hear that? Must we fetch you water out of this rock?
Right.
And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, Because ye believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. Question: Jehovah is not pleased with Moses and Aaron because they did not follow the instructions given, or is he displeased with the group as a whole?
Both.
Both. But in this case, I think he's definitely displeased with Moses and Aaron. It seems that, well, this is actually, there is a gap in time too. There's, at one point we go from a chapter where they've been in the desert for about 2+ years, and then the next chapter it's already 40 years later.
Right. I don't know if you guys noticed that, by the way.
Yeah, there is a gap in time. So the waters of Meribah are a lot closer to the 40 years later than they are to the first few years in the desert.
Yeah, when they're griping and the 10 times they've griped and he's like, that's it, I've had enough. They're not getting into the promised land. And then he kind of sets down the law of what's going to happen to them. And then he talks about how they're going to go and they're going to do all these travels and it's not going to be easy. And then all of a sudden, 40 years later in Iraq.
Yeah.
So if you guys missed that, it jumps. Those 40 years, we really don't hear anything going on. It's only when it gets finally now, it's about the time that they're going to cross into paradise, Israel, that they finally get back to the story.
And could it be that this moment with the water would have been the miracle for the new generation of kids or of Israelites now born in the desert who had not yet seen, who did not see the miracles of Egypt?
You get a mic drop on that, bro. Exactly.
Yeah.
If he had given glory to the Lord, then those who were young and up and coming would have heard his mouth say, the Lord brings water out of this, so believe that the Lord will do this for you. Instead, they see Moses, who's this legend in everybody's eyes and everything. He does it. And then when he dies, does that legendary power die with him? That's a very realistic thing. I think Alex just he got a really good mic drop on that one, didn't he?
Thank you. I do believe that actually makes a lot of sense. This would have been an opportunity for God to be witnessed by a new generation of Israelites.
Yeah, who didn't see the parting of the sea and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Numbers 21.
Sharon Louise Roberts, Numbers 21, verse 14. What is the book of the wars of the Lord?
Ooh, good question.
We wanted to know the same thing.
It's an external book, obviously not in the Bible, but a book that if you can get your hands on, you might want to read. I don't know how accurate it would be.
I mean, does it exist today?
I don't know. I would imagine that might be. If the Jews have all sorts of books that we don't have. That's another thing you guys have to understand too. The Jews have like a whole array of like 100 books that aren't in the Bible, that they do read, they do rely on and stuff like that. I do know there's a library in Jerusalem that have these books and you can go into it and you can actually pick it off the wall and you're like inside this room and then you can read them. It's pretty cool.
In Hebrew, right?
Yeah, I don't read Hebrew, so
right, the original text.
Yeah.
You can actually,
it's pretty cool. So if you go to Jerusalem, you go to the Wailing Wall, right? Where you see everybody facing the wall and they're doing this deal, right? If you're on the male side, I don't know if there's one on the female side too, but if you're on the man side, if you go to the left, there's this like inner chamber deal that goes like into an old like castle-y kind of arched wall type of deal. And inside there's all these books. I'm sure most of them are Torahs and things like that, but there's a whole bunch of other books, and somebody told me when I was there that it's filled with a whole bunch of other books that are not in the Bible, but they like still trust and rely on and stuff like that. So pretty interesting.
I definitely would like to read that one. It's an interesting.
I would definitely, if we could find it, that'd be awesome.
A book of the wars of the Lord.
Yeah, that would be cool if we could get our hands on that. I'll have to Google it and see if there's a copy of it somewhere. Jennifer Connolly, 21:14.
Wherefore it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, what he did in the Red Sea and in the brooks of Arnon. This is the first I've heard of this book that had ever make it out of the desert. Right. So yeah, I think it's something for all of us to research. I've never seen that book, so it may not have made it out of the desert.
I can't say I've ever been in a conversation with anybody who said they read it either. So.
Yeah.
So I was reading the book of the wars.
I mean, every other book that is mentioned in the Bible, everybody seems to, if it exists,
Joshua.
everybody has read or people have read or people know about it. Joshua is mentioned. But this one, I'm not sure it still exists.
Maybe it got lost. Maybe when they got overran, people were like, oh man, this is the story of when they beat us the first time. Let's just burn this book.
Possibly.
And they got rid of it. Possibly. Nobody wants to keep a record of when they lost.
Yeah. Victory, what is it? History is written by
winners.
By victors.
Yeah, exactly.
Doreen Anderson, which is why the Bible is so amazing, because in here you see the history,
the Lord
and you don't see a group of people glorifying themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say that you read this book and you're like, these people are obviously just making themselves out to look amazing, because they don't.
Right.
So who would tell such an account? So there was this time where we messed up, and then we messed up again, and we messed up again and again. And then it got worse. We messed up some more.
So like the almighty creator of the universe came down and freed us from slavery and destroyed our all enemies and gave us free food from heaven.
And chose us.
And then we like totally took it for granted and didn't believe in him.
And we ruined everything. See, that's not the kind of normal historical book that people would write.
No.
That also gives, credence?
Credence?
Yeah, to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doreen Anderson, Numbers 21:28. I can see why towns were terrified of the Israelites as they were destroyed by fire, assuming by God. Probably, but let's 21:28. We can look and see what. Do you remember what that?
I don't
one is
think
about?
I don't think it says whether it was by God or whether it was by the men, but I do know that anywhere that God told them to go, they were promised to win. So that's a thing.
For there is a fire going out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It has consumed Ar of Moab, and the lords of the high places of Arnon. Oh, okay. These are part of the wars.
Yeah.
These are the first cities in the promise, sort of the promised land. We're not beyond the Jordan yet, so it's not actually the promised land yet. But these are this is resistance that the Israelites encounter 40 years after traveling in the desert, and they defeat their enemies rather decisively and with lots of ease, I suppose. It's okay to say.
I would imagine.
Well, the Lord was on their side.
It would be really creepy though, even today, if like 3 million people rolled up on you, and you were just like chilling, and like a mob of 3 million people, like
with a fire cloud.
Yeah, with a fire cloud and that would freak me out. Even today's standards, that would be kind of scary, right?
Deep thoughts, true.
Deep thoughts, more deep thoughts with Yeshua Network. Okay. But yeah, I don't think it actually defines who caused the fire, or if the fire is even just symbolism, meaning that there was like a fury, there was war, and there was a fire gone out. Yeah.
Indeed. Jennifer Connolly, Numbers 21:9. And Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld, meaning looked at, the serpent of brass, he lived. Why would Jehovah tell them to make this? I find it strange he would choose a snake. What is the symbolism, and why bronze?
This is an amazing, good question. All right, so bronze was very shiny, right? It was kind of like the cheap man's gold, because you could make it very shiny, and then of course as time went on, it would dull out and have like a nice color to it, you know,
Turn
like
green.
What's the word I'm thinking of? Patina?
Patina?
Yeah, it would have a nice patina to it, right? It would turn green, but
Gotta look that word up.
Yeah, hey. And then, but the other thing is, this is the symbolism of the medical symbol, right? With the snake coiled around a staff. Now, this symbol existed before this event happened. Other cultures had been using this symbol long before. This was a symbol that was a sign of worshiping basically the devil or the serpent god or whatever. So now if you think about it, why would the people be griping at this time that would cause God to bring snakes to them? So let's play this back real quick. Again, hopefully you guys are reading this, by the way, not just watching these videos thinking that you're getting everything, because we don't cover everything. In fact, I would say, God bless you.
Excuse me.
Are we good? Yeah. All right. So, so why would God? Again, I got sidetracked by the sneeze, but I hope you're actually reading the Bible with us and not just listening to what is being talked about in these videos, because we don't cover everything. We cover maybe like 50-60% of stuff. So it's important that you read for yourself. But here's how the story goes. The people are griping. The Lord is blessing them unbelievably, protecting them, taking care of them, and they keep messing up. And then when they finally gripe one too many times and make one too many complaints and their egos get out of control, he sends snakes to come and they bite them and they die. And then he says in order for them to kind of be saved from the snake bites, right? They were poisonous snakes. Also, I don't know if anybody comments on this, but they were snakes of fire. Oh yeah, it's in the next one. They were snakes of fire, which means that they were deadly or they had like a fiery color to them.
Deadly poisonous
snakes, yeah. So when they get bit, they die. But if they look upon this snake symbol coiled on a stick, they would be saved. Now, being that I was somebody who used to study the Kundalini and all these other religions that talk about the snake, it means to me that I get, as I continue to read forward, and I am kind of going forward a little bit, but what does the devil do to Yeshua in the garden before he goes onto the cross? It says that the snake whispers in his ear. Right? And what does the devil do throughout the course of the Bible? He's constantly whispering people's ear, and he gives them the idea that they are holy. He gives them the idea that they don't need God. He gives them the idea to build other idols for other gods in the temple. He's the one who's like dropping this hiss in their ear. That's like being bit by the snake symbolically. So when God puts the snake on a staff, the snake doesn't save them. Yahweh saves them. But he showed them a symbol of why they're getting bit. He's showing them a symbol of the cost of the choices they make. This is the one you're following. And remember, it's very clear to these people at this time, right, that the snake is a symbol of the one that causes the fall in the garden. So the snake on a staff is not like a positive symbol. This is a symbol that would be definitely very negative, especially since their family, their friends, or children are dying from snake bites. So this is a symbolism. It's kind of like, I used this reference back in another video, where in the old days at least, if you got caught smoking a cigarette, your father would make you smoke the entire pack in one sitting. So you would get super, super sick, throw up, and never want to touch a cigarette ever again. So if you take that same principle and apply it to this symbol here, that's what it is. God is saying, I hope you never want to receive the hiss of the serpent in your ear again. I hope you never want to embrace this false God, because remember, he's the one and the reason why you're getting bit by these fiery snakes.
I think also you could say in this section, God's letting them know that these snakes are not an accident.
Right.
These poisonous snakes that you encountered in the wilderness, I sent them.
Right. You didn't move into their territory.
Yeah, you didn't just... Good
point.
Plus, he's guiding them everywhere they're going, just in case there's any confusion. But these snakes are not an accident. These snakes are sent as punishment to you. If you look upon the symbol, you will know that I am also the salvation from these snakes to you. So you will also know that I sent these snakes upon you. Mm-hmm. It's like and maybe that's why there's two snakes coiled on the brass on the staff.
Well, only in the medical. In this one, there's only one snake.
There's only one snake in this?
Yeah, there's only one.
So
that's but that symbol is a symbol. You'll also notice that too. You will find that there are. You will find that oftentimes on the medical one, the snake has feathers, right? And that again is symbolic of Satan, because he had wings, or they have wings on it. So interesting, huh? All right, let's read the next one. What do we got? You're zoning again.
I was just.
I know.
I was just.
We'll fix it later.
No, I know. I was just looking at the comments. Here we go. Where were we?
We are here.
21:6.
Yes.
Jennifer Connolly, 21:6.
Yes.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. In my mind's eye, I picture glowing flames and huge snakes. Is this just another way of saying deadly or poisonous? Yes. Mm-hmm. I also, first time I ever read this, I also thought, whoa, snakes of fire, dragon snakes of fire. And I thought it was this, one of those super duper supernatural miracles that we've seen in other parts. But I think it might have actually just been snakes, super poisonous snakes.
Yeah.
Snakes nevertheless.
Doreen, 21:14.
Is the book of the wars of the Lord something the Israelites kept, or is this book actually in heaven with God?
It was a book that they actually kept.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it, like as we were saying earlier, we don't know if it made it, in history. We don't know if it's still around today.
Yeah.
Numbers 20. Wait, 22. 2020 is what I said. So if you have 20 eye vision, it's very good. But 22, that's 22.
Numbers 22, verse 22.
And this is the 22nd video of the Bible read through.
Ba-bam!
Oh, Snapple.
Balaam.
Such dorks. Okay.
Hey, speak for... Oh, you're right.
I am speaking for myself.
No,
it's a royal we.
Okay. Yeah, the editorial. Balaam keeps hitting the donkey. Apparently he doesn't see the angel of the Lord as the donkey does. And then in verse 28, the donkey speaks to him. I don't think I would have had a casual conversation with the donkey like he did. I would have freaked out. Well, Balaam is kind of special.
Yeah.
He's been having weird, magical, supernatural experiences his whole life. He is the non-Israel, you could say. He's sort of like a non-Israelite prophet. Mm-hmm. He's one. Some people,
but chosen by God prophet, not like a false prophet.
Yeah. He did have access and ability to, he was blessed with God speaking to him very directly.
Yeah, and so let this also be a great point to keep in your heads, that just because somebody wasn't part of the tribe of Israel doesn't mean that God did not bless them and God did not walk with them. God simply was keeping a promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph to continue the promises to each one of them, right? So this was his group of a nation of people. But that doesn't mean that God did not work outside this nation of people. So let that be stuck in your head as we continue to move forward, because that is an important fact. A lot of people think that if you're not like ordained, or there was not a guy named Jack who was ordained by God and then he ordained you, blah, 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 blah. God doesn't work that way. Also, let us remember Melchizedek, the priest Melchizedek that Adam gave donation to. Abraham, gave donation to. He wasn't part of Abraham's lineage, and Abraham gave donation to him. Now, did he bless Abraham? Sure, but that's irrelevant. He couldn't bless Abraham unless God blessed him. So you need to hold that in your mind, because I think that Christianity in general has this idea that there has to be this, there's this one group of people that God says, this is good, this is right, and if you are not of this group of people, there's no way that God is blessing you or talking to you or working through you. And that is obviously not the case right here with Melchizedek and Balaam.
Yeah, the story of Balaam is amazing. It's really cool.
Especially as it moves forward.
Just thinking about this, made me kind of realize Balaam was having pride issues.
A little bit.
Balaam was having pride issues, and he, it's an interest. Just real quick about the fact that he didn't see the angel.
Right.
He didn't see the angel. The angel would have, according to the angel, would have killed Balaam for having plowed forward, and but Balaam was given a way to escape that punishment through the donkey.
Right.
But he had to be humble enough to receive a donkey, bringing Balaam to a better end than Balaam was going to bring himself to. And he fights the donkey, and he's still given an opportunity to understand what's actually going on when the donkey reveals to him, I'm seeing the angel and you're beating me.
Right. And I don't see anybody comment on this, so I wanted to just comment on this right now as we read forward. There is a symbolism once again to the donkey. Nobody commented on it. Donkey is what Yeshua rides in on the day where they lay down the palms, which is the same time in which he ends up being sacrificed on the cross. But they're praising him, they're worshiping. If we do think of probably the most famous moment of a donkey prior to that time, it's this moment right here. And let us take note that the donkey leads the way to salvation. Oh.
Bam.
Oh, snap.
What?
Oh, snappy snap.
Microphone drop. Oh.
Okay, just wanted to comment on pointing that out, because
pretty cool.
Here we go with that, right?
Pretty
okay.
Cool.
Sharon
Louise Roberts, Numbers 22, verses 20 through 22. Why was God angry with Balaam for going when he already said to him, if the men have come to call you, rise up and go with them? So we kind of hit a wall on that one too, and we were looking it up, and it seems that there's a punctuation issue in the English. It seems that all of the English translations make it sound like God said, okay, get up and go with them. Mm-hmm. But when we looked at the original Hebrew, it doesn't seem conclusively that. It could be that basically instead of a comma, you should see a two. For example, it should say, if the men have come to call you to rise up and go with them, do only what I tell you to do. So it is possible that this was yet a second time that God was telling him, don't go with these people unless I tell you to go with these people. So that's one explanation.
Yeah. Wait, what? If we said to rise up.
Yeah,
okay, so did
that.
You explain the difference of the commas?
Yes.
Okay, because I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't.
No, I don't.
The
I was reading the comments. I was making sure we're not missing anybody.
The reason why I was mentioning Balaam and kind of his pride.
Yeah.
He definitely seems he's blind to the angel that may kill him now when
right.
he goes off.
Right.
It seems to me that God is possibly showing Balaam that you have no fear of me.
Right. You only have grace and you only do good because I show you good. I guide you.
Exactly.
If I blind you from me, you will go the wrong way.
There's something.
Symbolism.
There's something Balaam says in the later prophecies. He calls himself a Gibor. Gibor is from Genesis 6, and those are the mighty men of renown. Gibor means mighty men. So Balaam is calling himself
a mighty man of
renown who were the children of angels and humans, or the children of God and humans, right? If we believe that they were angels, then. So Balaam is ascribing to himself a glory, perhaps, and probably it seems like he feels that he's rather special. And it does seem that he operates not like the Israelites do in many ways, or not like Moses does, for sure. He operates definitely with not a huge fear of the Lord.
He doesn't have much government on him.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah. So, so is it possible that even though God said, if the men have come to call you, rise up and go with them, but then in the manner in which Balaam just got up and went, maybe the manner in which he did it was something that made God unhappy with him.
Or it could be or it could be the commas are placed.
Or it could be the commas. That's a far simpler explanation.
All right, Stephanie, Leticia.
Let's see if there's any comments about that.
No.
Okay. Oh boy. Let's see. Where are we?
We are on
Stephanie Lasica. Hope I didn't butcher your name. Sorry. Hi guys. 22. Numbers 22. 29 through 35 verses. God told Balaam to go, but was angry when he went.
So that's again a comma situation. I believe that he did not. I don't believe that he actually told him to go. He was saying, if the men come and call you to rise up and go with them. So if the men come to call you and rise up to go with them. So that's what they're calling them.
With a to.
Yeah. So say, if the men come up to call you to rise up and go with them, comma, then don't go. Do only what I've told you to do. Now, if you read it the way that it's written with the commas misplaced or misused, then it would look like God says, if the men come to call you, rise up and go with them. No, that's not what he's saying. It's a super confusing thing, and that's why, again, I think you got to look to the original Hebrew. Now, not to get in a long wordy dealy with this, but when we looked at it from the Hebrew, according to the Strong's Concordance, it matches what I'm saying, that the comma is misplaced. When we looked at it in the Septuagint, which Alex kind of trusts a little bit more than I do, but the Septuagint says that it basically says, God says, rise up and go with them, and then God gets mad. But that doesn't make sense to me, and I agree with the Hebrew kind of based situation. But whatever, dude, it's fine. Just to make clear, I think I'm funny.
You are very funny. The Paleo Hebrew had no punctuations, right? So Hebrew pre-Christ had no punctuations. The Hebrew that's used, the Hebrew texts from which the King James Version was translated from, had vowels added to it. It did have vowels added to it, and these vowels were in the forms of like accents and weird symbols and things, or dots. I'm not a super Hebrew expert, so don't quote me on exactly what the vowel symbols look like. But so the King James Version is a translation of the Hebrew with vowels added, and the Septuagint is supposedly a Greek translation of Paleo Hebrew text, the one without the vowels. And then, of course, the English versions of the Septuagint that we read are the translation from that Greek into English. So, just to give you a really quick background. So
is this quick?
No, it's not. So, so I think what I'm trying to get at is we don't see the punctuations. The Hebrew upon which the King James is based on, we don't see these commas and semicolons in these places. And if we just kind of literally translate the words, it seems to suggest that, God isn't necessarily saying, if they call upon you, rise up and go with them. God simply could be saying, when they call upon you to rise to go with them,
yes,
do nothing.
Okay, so just so you know, anybody who's watching this in the future, you probably got what Alex was saying. However, if you're watching live, I don't know if anybody's paying attention. Listen, guys, don't pay attention to the trolls. Every time you comment, they get like a street credit. So if you comment them, if you tell them God will, you pray for them, all that, you don't need to tell them you're going to pray for them. Yes, there are trolls on the page. There will always be trolls on very popular pages. But every time you respond to them, you're giving them what they need. They need street credit. They need that troll credit. So it's an actual thing. The more you comment, the more you get involved, the more credit they get. So you're literally giving them everything they want when you comment. So right now we have trolls on the page. The best thing you can do is let them make their comments and then continue to focus on the Bible read through and not trolls, because I see like 90 of you right now are commenting to the trolls, which means you're not paying attention to the video, and then now the devil gets his way. So do not respond to trolls even when you see them, not once, right? And if you think somebody is a troll, don't even respond to them. You can pray for them if you want to. You can write them privately, but don't give them their credit. As long as it shows up and they can show people their credits, that people are taking them time to comment to them, you're literally giving them like a badge, like a Boy Scout gets a badge when they help an old woman cross the street. Trolls get a badge whenever you leave a comment, and the more comments you leave and the more angry you get and the more involved you get with them, the more badges you're giving them. Do you understand? So they're winning. Don't do that. Just ignore them. That's the best thing to do. All right, moving on. Okay, focus on the Lord. Don't be distracted by the hissing serpent in your ear. Didn't we just discuss this?
We did. This is pretty
gracious. Okay.
This is pretty apropos.
Pretty apropos. I like that. That's so. You're so fancy.
I'm fancy.
Okay.
Billie Jean Christensen.
Okay. Sorry, I had to break out Michael Jackson. What can I say?
I thought it was amazing when the Lord used Balaam to bless Israel. In Genesis 12:3, the Lord told Abram, "I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse.
Oh, bam.
In you all the families of the earth shall be blessed."
Oh, bam. Amen.
It's consistent.
Yep. Thank God America blesses Israel. That's all I gotta say. Because we need the grace of God now more than ever. Yes, sir, we sure do.
Jennifer Connolly, Numbers 22, 6-7. "Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me, this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak." Question: Balaam was not an Israelite, but was a prophet of Jehovah.
Correct.
Yeah, he was.
Yep, he definitely was. And that sentence will tie in, or that whole situation will tie in later with another prophet. But you know what's really crazy is the prophets that we're about to see here in the Bible, Balaam actually is like the first prophet of the prophets to come in the way he lives his life. He's a loner. He's not part of the group. He lives like in a cave. He just hears from God. He does his own thing. He's not part of the whole like the temple deal and all that kind of jazz. Like you'll see in a bit that he is as we continue to move forward, the prophets that come actually look more like Balaam than obviously like Moses. So interesting stuff as we move forward. 23.
Numbers 23. Billie Jean Christensen is asking, "I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I was researching on why Balak kept taking Balaam to different areas to curse Israel, and apparently pagan rituals believed that some gods had more authority in certain areas. Example, god of the sea, god of the valley, etc. So if that's correct, he was seeing if Balaam's god had more authority in an area, so he would curse Israel. Thank the Lord that Balaam's God was the one and only true God of the entire world, which has all the authority. Curious in how Balaam found out about Yeshua and how he knew him. Was all this power in the past with cursing and blessing always come from the one true God?"
The answer is yes. All power and authority comes from God. The Bible is very clear about that. Later on, we'll hear that when there is a tornado, when there's an earthquake, when there's some kind of curse, God says, don't give credit to Satan for that. I'm the God of all things. I'm the one who controls the weather. I'm the one who can shake the earth. Don't give Satan that credit. So we do know that it is the Lord who does these things. Now, are there other spirits that have things that they work in and move in? Yes, there is. But in this situation, I think you've got a great comment here in saying that the reason why he was traveling and asking Balaam to do this in different areas was maybe to test the territory, the borders of Yahweh's power. And I think that is a pretty fascinating thing that you stumbled upon. Good comment. Okay. Okay. All right. Thematic. I'm getting into thematic stuff.
Hold on. I just wanted a quick comment. It seems actually that Balaam found out about Yeshua in the prophecy here in this chapter.
Oh, about Yeshua? I thought they were miswriting it, meaning Yahweh.
Oh, okay.
I think they were just meaning Yahweh.
Meaning Yahweh.
Yeah. So how did he become aware? Remember, everybody here, guys, is a descendant of Noah. So the whole world knew about Yahweh, especially because of what happened in Egypt. So, there's later on, we'll read, and there's other books that actually testify that the most feared God in the world was Yahweh, the Jewish God. So for people to know the God, as we saw with Melchizedek, as we see here with Balaam, it doesn't mean that nobody else knew Yahweh. Just only Abraham and the Moses line was his nation of people to be governed by him. In real time, his guidance, cloud of day, pillar of fire by night. That was their role. He had chosen them to be his example people living in his laws. Everybody else doesn't mean that they didn't know him. He was very well known and very famous at the time. Good question.
All right. So we've gone through the chapters, and now some of these things are all of these things have to do with the reading in these chapters, but there's no scripture quoted, so we don't know exactly where they fit. So we'll go ahead and read them out. So Lori Harder is writing, I don't understand why Aaron had to die. What did he do wrong? Why would God have him die? And then April Anglis asked the same question. What did Aaron do wrong that he died on the mountain? And then this continues. Alan Williams is asking basically the same thing. When Aaron is sent to die because of the incident at Meribah, is there a chance that it wasn't a punishment, but because they did not obey orders, something went wrong and Aaron got hurt or deathly ill? Example, maybe when they struck or moved a rock, Aaron got hit or hurt somehow by force of nature.
Well, I think the reason why Aaron died here was because of what he did with the golden calf. I think this is just his time catching up with them. Well, and I think, too, it's a punishment to Moses. Here's something that I realize. Moses has outlived everybody he loves. And then he finds out that he's not going to go into paradise. And he has to, realize. He gets all the way up, basically, to the day where they're going to cross over. And that's when he dies. So we're getting ahead a little bit here. But, I think, could you imagine being Moses? He made a mistake, and then here's Aaron dying. It almost seems to me that the weight and the punishment is really falling on Moses. Aaron is really getting his death due to what happened with the calf, right? The golden calf. But who's the one who's carrying the burden of the sin that they just created? Aaron's dead. So really it falls upon Moses for however long. And he knows that his days are now numbered. His end is coming. And he messed up so bad he'll never get to go in the paradise. Which means that all the horrific, horrible, draining, mind-blowing, frustrating things he dealt with these people was to bring them into paradise. He vouched for them on multiple occasions when God said, hey, why don't I just bring you into paradise now? We'll start over. And then if you think about it, Moses ends up not even getting in. And the people that God wanted to wipe out, it's a new generation that goes in and Moses doesn't even get in. So I really don't see it as this moment as a punishment on Aaron, because really is death a punishment? No. So really the punishment lands on Moses.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, Aaron at this point is 120 years old.
Yeah, he's lived a good life.
Aaron is, a few years older than Moses. Moses is basically 120 years old at this point, too. So it was Aaron. It could be just seen as Aaron's time.
Yeah.
God did say in the prior chapters that both Aaron and Moses would not see the promised land.
Yep.
He grouped them together when they went with the rock and the waters of Meribah.
Yeah.
So 120 years old. God decided it was his time, and it doesn't really need to have any other explanation, any disease or a broken anything. It just
his time.
In fact, he's kind of glorified by the way he gets to go.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome way to go, because
he's removed from everybody except for Moses, he and his son. His son gets the high priest clothes.
There's a passing of the torch.
And Aaron just passes right there on the mountain.
Which I imagine it was pretty peaceful. I don't imagine that it was like this horrible, like,
yeah,
painful, crazy movie
right.
scene type of deal.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, he was told that it's going to happen.
At 122, you might be ready to go.
Yeah.
Especially walking around in dirt and flip-flops the whole time. I know if I stubbed my toe that many times, I'd be ready to go a long time ago.
Is it possible that throughout the 40 years in the desert, Moses and Aaron had conversations about death? Is it possible that Aaron would ask Moses, so what's supposed to happen after we go?
Right.
Is it possible that Moses had some information for Aaron?
True.
Is it possible that Aaron was like, I can't wait. Miriam's already gone. He's an old man. True. So, this wasn't necessarily a punishment.
Yeah.
It seems like it was just Aaron's time to go.
Billie Jean Christensen.
I've seen a few times in Scripture where they say the person will be cut off from the community of Israel. What exactly does that mean? And can they redeem themselves if they're cut off?
I think the word cut off, they could redeem themselves. However, in the passages in which we've read up to this point, there is no redemption for them to be cut off, because he says even so that their soul is cut off. So I don't think there is redemption. I think they actually die. I think that's what that means. So you can be cut off because you get sent out into the wilderness. Like, for instance, if you are unclean, you're cut off from the community. But I think it means that you're not even allowed to atone for your sins. And if you can't atone, then basically you're screwed. So I think in this situation, the answer is no. I think it's basically you've gotten to a point where God is like, stop forgiving you. Or you can't be forgiven because he's cut off that part from you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Thor rod.
Sorry, but there is a chance that the water of Meribah still exists, just like the Garden of Eden?
No, the water doesn't exist. They have the rock that they believe it is, and there's no water coming out of it now. But they believe they have the rock that is the water of Meribah, the spring. And there is signs of... Oh, yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
You can Google
in
it.
Israel?
Well, it's outside. Remember, this isn't in Israel.
Oh, I thought you meant the rock that he moved out of the way or he broke.
No, this is the rock that he hit.
That he hit?
Yeah. They know where it is because there's signs of water coming out of this rock that's split.
So it wasn't... So, okay. It wasn't just a rock behind which was a spring. It was literally a big rock that was split and water came out of it.
Yeah, like it's a huge rock. Like it's probably like 20 feet tall. Right?
So it was a full-on miracle. There wasn't just a...
Exactly.
Hey, there's a hint. There's a hidden string, hidden spring back here.
Right, exactly. Watch this really cool trick. We got this whole spring plugged with a big rock. I'm going to hit it twice. It's going to scoot you over and water's going to go everywhere. Yeah, not that situation.
Yeah.
All right, Thor rod number 2.
So, but is the question also whether the Garden of Eden still exists? And it sounds to me like it doesn't. It would have been wiped out in the flood. If the Garden of Eden does exist, might exist in heaven or in a different dimension or something.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know because we're not even allowed in. I think it got put into a totally different dimension because the angels guard it so that we can never enter.
Yeah.
It's not like you get up to a piece of land and you just keep walking in place because for some reason you can't move forward anymore. And you're like, it doesn't look like there's anything there, but no matter what we do, none of us can move into that piece of land. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Thor...
I don't know. I might be silly. Who knows?
Thor says, "Hi, good morning, guys. I read and always follow you, and I'm very amazed your Yeshua fellowship comparing from my past of Bible study. You are right, the Bible must be studied from cover to cover.
Yes.
I am still in Isaiah. I'm thinking that so-called stiff-necked, where they content for the current situation
of their current
situation, and they let Moses do the talkies to God. Because as you said, this is kind of broken English.
Talk to God because, as you said, they are afraid when the Lord appears, and they think it's forever. No problem, Moses can handle the agenda to God. God leaves us alone, and they continue their normal routine. Then don't want to improve their lives because, just as I thought, nobody informed them of the afterlife. Sorry, one thing in chapter 16, verse 3 and 41. I think fake news already existed at the time. Sorry, the mainstream media is in my country. Fake. Okay. It was God that killed the people, not Moses. I'm from the Philippines working in Vietnam. God bless you. Good to see you. Well, thanks for the comment, Thor, and glad to have you here, buddy. There's not really a question. You're kind of just making comments, right?
Yeah.
But you think you're right. I think because they didn't have to deal with God directly, they kind of got maybe a little bit too comfortable. I think that's kind of your comment. They weren't held responsible. They didn't have God literally doing that. It's like, oh, Moses will deal with it. And actually, if we do look at the scriptures, we do see that that's how they treat it, because they bring every problem they have to Moses. And it gets to the part where Moses is losing his mind because he spends every morning, wake, day, and night dealing with their problems to where he finally has to choose 70 people to help him.
They dump the responsibility of relationship with the Creator upon Moses.
And then they don't realize they have one
and
themselves.
Then they gripe upon Moses that he's the only one that has the relationship with the Creator, with all of those, with the rebellion of Korah and the stuff we've already read.
Yeah.
So it's funny how they sort of forget that what they claim they want, they actually already rejected. Doreen Anderson writes, so just basically, where did the prophet Balaam come from? Seems God had prophets scattered throughout the earth. I'm just wondering from which people Balaam came from. So Balaam, there's two different possibilities. The King James in the Septuagint says that he's a Midian. And the Vulgate and a couple of two more biblical texts from different traditions say that he was an Ammonite, which would have been a cousin to the Moabites. So the Moabites and the Ammonites came from the daughters of Lot. And Lot. So he's either an Ammonite or he's a Midian, and Midians were
Moabs.
Well, no, Midians were one of the children of Abraham. One of the later children of Abraham became the Midians.
Oh,
I forget which one.
I do too.
So that's what people he came from, the two possibilities of what people he came from.
Yeah, so he's still coming from the lineage. Again, the question is, how would he know about Yahweh? It's because they're all cousins. It's unbelievable. But, I mean, you're talking about a lot of cousins on earth at this point.
Yeah.
And so everybody comes from Noah. So
Noah knew who Jehovah was.
Yeah.
And that knowledge spread and
it got passed down. But only one guy during that time period embraced and submitted to Jehovah instead of trying to be a conqueror and a king, and that was Abraham. Yep. Or Abram, and they got made into Abraham in the house.
That's right.
All right, Jennifer Connolly.
Numbers 25. So either you're skipping ahead or either you're in...
Oh yeah, you're in 25. We're not at 25 yet, Miss Jennifer Connolly.
But it's possible you meant another one. Maybe you meant 24. So I'm going to go ahead and read this because it does look like... Should I read this? I'm going to read this.
Read it.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Yeah, this does look like...
It's the next chapter.
Next chapter.
So let's go ahead and hold on to that for the next chapter. We'll add that to the next one. So Jennifer, copy and paste that onto the next chapter for us, if you would. Alrighty. Jennifer says, I don't know how Moses dealt with those people. They always throw him under the bus. Yeah, he prayed for them. Yeah, I don't know. His humility is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Lord made him this unbelievable, humble guy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, Moses is awesome.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Thank you, Michael. Michael Gonzalez writes, Midianites were the descendants of Midian, who was a son of Abraham after his wife Keturah. Abraham took a wife, her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran and Joshkan and Medan and Midian and Ishbak and Shusha.
There it is. Michael in the house. Thank you for bringing that for our education reasons. It is very nice. See, teamwork makes that dream work. That's all I gotta say. You guys are a blessing onto us. Thank you very much for your patience and time. And don't worry about any of the lost souls that come onto the videos. We still love them, but we will take care of them. You don't need to do that. It is St. Patrick's Day, so depending on how you're celebrating it, if you're celebrating it, be safe And be careful out on the roads there, you guys. Again, we are Yeshua Network. I'm Nathan Wheeler. We're going to be doing the next and final 6 chapters of Numbers next Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here.
They're not the final 6.
Oh, they're not?
No, we got 12 more.
Oh, yeah, 12 more. 12 more. I miscounted, yeah. Because we did 12, and then we did 6 again.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I got all confused because we did one of 12 videos. That's right, 12 chapter video. So, yeah. You guys, thank you very much, and just remember your St. Patty's green today, so nobody goes around pinching you. All right. Anything else?
Pinching?
Yeah. If somebody is not wearing green on St. Patty's Day, you're supposed to pinch them.
You haven't pinched me yet.
Those are kind of green pants.
Oh,
you got lucky.
Woohoo!
You got real lucky.
I got the Irish luck with me today.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Alrighty, you guys. If you see a leprechaun, let us know about it.
Hey,
it's weird.
Guess what, you guys? I love you. Yeshua loves you.
Indeed. I love you too.
Yeah, Alex loves you as well. All right.
Have
Be blessed. Be the blessing. Oh, and don't forget, we're about 4 or 5 days away from hashtag Be the Light. Look at your calendar. Set a reminder. Get your candle ready and burn that candle. Remember, guys, don't just be the light on the 22nd of every month. Be the light every day. I'm Nathan Wheeler. We will be talking to you guys soon. Thank you very much.
Take care.